Hello, good evening, and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. And now the top stories this hour. President Tinubu conferred with highest national honor in Saint Lucia on his diplomatic trip to the Caribbean islands nation. And University Senior Staff Union threatens fresh industrial action over withheld salaries. Also coming up, United Nations World Food Programme warns of looming hunger crisis for millions of Sudanese refugees as funds dry up. Details coming up now. Now we begin in Saint Lucia, where President Bola Tinubu has been awarded the highest national honor of the title of Knight Commander of the Order of Saint Lucia. The honor was announced during his diplomatic visit to the Caribbean nation, part of a broader two-country tour. Addressing Saint Lucia's parliament, President Tinubu emphasized the shared destiny of Africans and the Caribbean people, calling for deeper economic and cultural ties.
Proud to note that some of our famous nationals contributed to the development of your country in the early years of transition from colonial rule to independent sovereign power.
I came here as a president, ordinary president. Leave other honors behind. But I'm living as a knight.
And honored that he has agreed to accept the highest order that can be bestowed on an individual by the government and people of Saint Lucia. It is a fitting testimony of our appreciation for not only His Excellency, appreciation for the links that bind the people of Saint Lucia and the people of the OECS with the people of Nigeria.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has announced that the scholarship program for students from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States to study in Nigerian universities will commence in the next academic year. At a joint press conference with the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Philip J. Pierre, following a high-level working luncheon with OECS leaders in Gros Islet on Monday, President Tinubu says the initiative has already commenced. And News Central correspondent Bettina Whaley here reports about it.
President Bola Tinubu on Monday in St. Lucia announced a scholarship program for students from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, to study in Nigerian universities. The president, who is on a state visit to the Caribbean island nation, said the initiative is part of a broader cooperation framework to strengthen people-to-people ties and expand opportunities in education, trade, and development.
I strongly advocate for educational exchange programs between Nigeria and OECS. I will establish full scholarship tuition for students of OECS.
President Tinubu further disclosed that a proposal for visa waivers for holders of diplomatic and official passports from OECS member states is also on course.
In a concrete step towards this goal, Nigeria is open to exploring a visa waiver arrangement for holders of diplomatic and official passports from OECS member states traveling to Nigeria. I respectfully urge a reciprocal gesture to enable smoother movement of officials and foster closer institutional cooperation.
I think from what the President said, and from the historical ties we've had before, people-to-people relationship, Lucians playing some important role in our country, I think this will mark a new beginning, something that will resonate in the future.
The relationship with Nigeria and St. Lucia and also the East African Caribbean states is vital. It's vital for our access into the Caribbean, regarding our trade, culture, and even our access, even with the United Nations.
Prime Minister of Saint Lucia, Philip Perry, welcomed the scholarship initiative, describing it as a timely and practical expression of solidarity.
We held a high-level luncheon where the President outlined to us how the OECS would benefit from the country of Nigeria. We expect the scholarships to happen in the next academic year. We expect students to be studying in Nigeria in the next academic year, based on the fact that the President has instructed that that should happen, and the committee will deal with it. So in the next year, we expect the scholarships to begin.
There are many areas that both nations can explore collaboration in tourism, trade, education, and multilateral diplomacy. As such, President Tinubu's visit is seen as advancing a Pan-African vision by fostering collaborative development. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Earlier, we were joined by Todimu Ige, a lawyer and public affairs analyst, who gave us some insight into the strategic importance of the president's tour of the West Indies.
Of Nigeria to the Caribbean, as the president and the spokesman also mentioned, that the visit of the president to Saint Lucia is to open up Nigeria and position us for access into the Caribbean, because Saint Lucia is primarily positioned on the Caribbean, and Nigeria must make an inway for culture, for trade, and of course diplomatic relations. It is expected, and well, it is appropriate that the president has visited Saint Lucia at this time.
Now, members of the ECOWAS Parliament are meeting in Dakar, Senegal, to review the impact of artificial intelligence in education and chart a course to help leverage the technology to improve learning. They say that while AI comes with tremendous benefit, its challenges and its disruptive nature to learning cannot be ignored, but must be channeled as a tool to achieve industrialization. Now, Idong Joseph here compiled this report.
The opening ceremony of the meeting of the ECOWAS Parliament Joint Committee on Education and Innovative Technologies. The meeting is aimed at reviewing the future of education in the region in the light of technologies like artificial intelligence. The Speaker of the Parliament, who was represented by the second Vice President of the ECOWAS Parliament, Ajaratu Coulibaly, says that the meeting will focus on how to effectively prioritize to ensure it continues to contribute to the economic well-being of citizens and developmental aspirations of ECOWAS member states.
Les technologies de l'éducation apparaissent non pas comme une option, mais comme une nécessité absolue. C'est pourquoi je me réjouis de l'opportunité que nous offre la présente réunion, qui nous permettra en outre de mener des réflexions profondes sur la technologie de l'éducation et de l'innovation dans un monde en pleine crise. Nous devons donc saisir cette opportunité avec courage, conviction et dans un esprit de collaboration. Excellences, mesdames et messieurs.
The Speaker of the National Assembly of Senegal, Malik Ndiaye, who was represented by his deputy, Ismaila Ndiallo, says that the continent must brace up for the challenges of artificial intelligence so as to leverage the opportunities and benefits AI can bring to education.
Les innovations technologiques bouleversent le mode d'enseignement, d'apprentissage et de transmission des savoirs. Notre continent, où près de 60% de la population ont moins de 25 ans, fait face à une opportunité unique, mais exigeante, transformer ce capital humain en véritable levier de développement.
Also, the Minister of Education of Senegal, Moustapha Guirassy, while harping on the importance of technologies such as AI, urged members of parliament to use AI in education as a tool for industrialization of the region.
Et dans cette révolution silencieuse, nos pays ne peuvent pas rester des territoires de consommation passive. Nous devons devenir des territoires de conception, de production, de réflexion et de régulation. C'est la voie que le Sénégal a choisie à travers son New Deal technologique et sa stratégie du numérique pour l'éducation 2025-2029.
With the theme of the meeting, prioritizing education, technology, and innovation in ECOWAS sub-region, some lawmakers say deliberations here will not only help the sub-region effectively take a position on AI in education, but help ensure it adds value to the sector.
This is going to actually let us understand where we are, actually where we are supposed to be. We need to understand if there are things we need to learn from other people, and also evaluate how we're performing where we are at the moment, and also consider input from other people to know how we can improve on where we are.
Still on education matters, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, is threatening fresh industrial action over the federal government's failure to release 2 months withheld salaries for members who joined the 2022 strike. At its 51st National Executive Council meeting in Kano, the union also condemned delays in salary payments to university staff and called for immediate harmonization of salary disbursement across all federal and state institutions. SANU expressed disappointment over the stalled renegotiation of the 2009 agreement with the government and criticized the unjust allocation of earned allowances, demanding redress. The union warned that continued neglect of arrangements, or rather agreements, could trigger further action, urging the government to address these concerns to avert another crisis in the university system. To legislative matters now, the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on the River State Emergency Rule has issued a 48-hour ultimatum to the state administrator to justify the proposed spending of 24 billion naira for CCTV installations and 30 billion naira for the purchase of gunboats, among other items. Chairman of the committee, Julius Ihonwere, alongside other lawmakers, raised concerns over the budget proposal during a defense session held in Abuja. Ihonwere noted that the committee had thoroughly reviewed the budget as presented by the sole administrator and observed questionable allocations of state funds to existing federal projects without formal agreements with the federal government. Responding, the senior special assistant to the sole administrator on strategy and policy, Andrew Nweke, explained that the administration inherited many of the items in the current budget.
We see a total of 264 billion naira just for State House. There are some worrisome components in that allocation. For example, what is the justification for 30 billion naira allocation for gunboats?
The environment is generally a maritime environment, and there's a need to support the efforts of the federal government to aid the services and the work that the security agencies are doing over the years. And that is why we have this provision that we have there, with respect to the provision for gunboats specifically.
The question of 30 billion for gunboats and 25 billion for contingency. We know Rivers State has its own peculiarities, but we need additional details for those allocations. Like I said, the documents will.
Now joining us is Evans Ufeli, lawyer and public affairs commentator. Evans, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Evans, 24 billion and also 30 billion naira seems like such a big amount. Now, these figures do sound really outrageous, but do you have any real hope that the probe or court will see things to a logical conclusion?
Well, the probe is expected to stem the tide of that white elephant project they want to embark on. I mean, gunboat for what? Is the state government now responsible for defense in Rivers State? Why should you buy gunboat for that amount? I mean, this is another white elephant project. We thought that the administrator there will be frugal and responsible enough to manage the resources of a state in crisis in a way that will reflect, an example, that is going to set an example of leadership for the short time it's going to be there illegally, because it's there illegally. And now, apart from the fact that we are seeing bogus amount being budgeted for to spend, there's also there's one other issue about reckless financial that is pending, and then it's about to enter another one. I think that before this committee was set up, 21-member committee was set up to look into its affairs. This amount of money is too much. It does not show that man is ready to lead, even though it was not expected. I mean, the military man in democratic government, it doesn't show. It doesn't, because I mean, even state governors who have mandate of the people, do they spend that much? Do they buy gunboats? And do they spend that much really on issues like that? How about education? How about the people's welfare? How about the state's infrastructure, facilities, roads, and other very pressing needs like public health in the states? Are those ones already dealt with? Do we now have proper public health care in River State? Or do we now have a primary and secondary education well constituted in that state that we should be buying both?
Evans, I hope you're still with us. I'm going to give that a few moments to see if we can get him back. Evans, are you still with us?
I know what I think.
Okay, good. Evans, yeah, you went off for a minute there, but hopefully we can keep you. I do have one question now. Evans, can you hear me? You went off for a few minutes, a few seconds there, so but we got most of your entry there. But Evans, the question here is, it's a very curious inquiry there that you laid down. But let's note what Andrew Nweke said, the senior special assistant to the sole administrator. He said that they inherited most of these things from the on the current budget, that it was inherited by the sole administrator. So the question now is, should that question or the inquiries that you have made be to the sole administrator's office or the previous government in place at the time?
No, if it is inherited, where's the evidence to show that it's inherited? I mean, that committee should not just listen to them, just throw words up and down, say it's inherited. It's inherited where? How? In the previous government budget, where is it? Can we see? Well, and even if it is inherited and it has the component of a white elephant project, must the new administration adopt it? I mean, the new administration should know enough to say that though we inherited this, but it is not expedient. It is not. I don't think that is what River State people are talking about. We should need at this point in time, at this critical time of our engagement. It should be something that is not expedient. Gunboats, there's no war in River State. There's no war in River State. And even if there is, it's not the responsibility of River State to buy gunboats. They can only support the federal government to do exactly what they want, not to put it into a budget and begin to ask that the money you release and all. I don't think this is right. We're getting it very wrong. The sole administrator should leave that office because, first of all, doesn't even have the mandate of the people. So the money itself is spent illegally. And then it's taking flamboyant project to go and execute, which you will not be able to account for at the end of the day. I don't think this is right for the police. This is unjust to the people of River State. As a stakeholder, I stand against it, and I know that I speak the minds of many of my kinsmen.
Evans, I want to put in a
this is not right.
I want to put in a new scene here, and that scene would be when the suspended governor is soon restored, because we have seen the news since last week and the reconciliation that has happened. Now, when that happens, how are we going to reconcile this? He would have to inherit a budget he had no hand in preparing. How does that address the question of accountability in the budget preparations and also implementation process now?
the entire bill has to be discarded because it didn't go through the National Assembly. Because once the governor resumes, the governor is going to work on the platform of democracy. And under democracy, budget is supposed to go through the State House of Assembly, okay? And if you have any budget that is in that state that did not go through the State House of Assembly, that budget is illegal, okay? So if it gets reinstated, then he must pass a budget that will come from the streams of the mandate of the people, not one that was concocted in the manner they are presenting it. And is it so? Fubara is going to carry on with the budget that is. So, what was the reason for the first accusation that the budget that he was spending, he was acting on, was not assented to, or was not passed by the State House, or that 4 members only? That accusation was part of what they even took to court. So if he gets back there and start to use this budget, that means he has not learned any lesson. So they will need to pass a fresh budget that will reflect the younger aspiration of the people under democracy.
Okay.
And that is the budget that must be entrenched, not this one that is. This one looks criminally concocted.
All right then, Evans, I want to say thank you very much for joining us to give your 2 pence on the issue. I don't know if you agree with me, but it would seem that River State seems to be a hot pot of a salad of undue processes going on right now. But thank you very much, Evans, for joining us this evening. Now we're going on a break. And when we come back, police unveil schools protection squad in Lagos. We'll bring you the details after. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's go on to security matters. The Lagos State Police Command has called on school proprietors across the state to promptly report any suspicious activity as part of its renewed efforts to safeguard educational institutions from emerging security threats. Now, the State Commissioner of Police, Oluhundare Jimo, said that at the unveiling of Schools Protection Squad in Ikeja. News Central's Victor Mbadike has more.
Schools and students have become soft targets for attacks by criminals across the country, leading to the closure of these schools, consequently denying them of learning. These growing threats have necessitated the urgent need for practical and proactive measures to protect the educational sector. In response, the Nigerian Police Force has introduced the Schools Protection Squad, a special initiative aimed at preventing attacks and enhancing the safety of students and educators. In Lagos, stakeholders gathered at a forum in Ikeja to discuss the initiative.
School insecurity is not only a breach of the right to education, it is a discrete threat to global peace and human capital development. It challenges the international commitment to Sustainable Development Goal 4 SDG, ensuring quality education, and Goal 16, promoting peace, justice, and strong institutions. I urge our schools, parents, and community leaders and communities to work in consonance with the security agencies as we champion the cause of security, safety, and well-being of our children.
These policies, programs...
According to Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack, over 5,000 attacks were recorded on schools between 2020 and 2022, affecting more than 22,000 individuals and disrupted the right to education across 28 countries. The Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Oluhundare Jimo, consequently emphasized on the need for vigilance and cooperation.
To the students and pupils here today, you are our heartbeat and the heartbeat of this initiative. Your education is our priorities and your safety is our obligations and mission. I encourage you to stay vigilant, report suspicious activities, and participate in safety programs in the schools and at home. Your voices matters, and we are here to protect you.
The IGP also announced that training programs will be rolled out for educators, school administrators, and security staff to equip them with the skills to recognize, report, and respond effectively to potential concerns. In Lagos for News Central TV, Victor Mbadike.
A group of young men and women from the southeast geopolitical zone of Nigeria have condemned some politicians from the zone who they say used the incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu to chase clout. The group, the All Igbo Youth Forum, warned such politicians to desist from such acts. The All Igbo Youth Forum also called for the release of the IPOB leader, assuring the president that this will guarantee votes for the ruling party in the zone. Now let's move on to infrastructure. President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday inaugurated the newly constructed collector road CN8 on Asuko Okon Street from Arterial Road N5 on Obafemi Awolowo Street to Arterial Road N1 and other connecting roads in Dakibiu district. The president was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, who joined FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and other high-ranking government functionaries, the contractor and politicians at the event.
Staff, the engineers, the contractors, and every person that has contributed to the success of this program.
And other connecting roads in Dakibiu district, officially commissioned by His Excellency Bola Tinubu GCON, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Tuesday, 1st July 2025. Inadequate infrastructure has choked the aspirations of these areas. Today, we tear down that wall. Today, we breathe life into communities long waiting to be seen, long waiting to be served. The dividends of this project are immediate and enduring. Commutes will shorten, congestions will ease, and most critically, livelihoods will flourish. Shops will open, markets will thrive, children will reach school faster, emergency services will arrive quicker. This is what we mean when we speak of renewed hope. Singular honor to commission the newly constructed collector road CN8, Asuko Okon Street, stretching from Obafemi Awolowo Way to Olusegun Obasanjo Way, and the adjoining roads in the Dakibiu district to the glory of God and in service to the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The road is good now. When we wanted to find a land for the construction of the Abuja division of the Court of Appeal, and I was told by the Director of Lands that there was a space. I said, let me go and see the place. Your Excellency, you can't believe that as a city, we could have such terrible, horrible roads. And to the Federal Council, by our support, this contract was awarded last year, September, and we flagged it up October last year. Today, we are commissioning it. Your Excellency, there's no way to talk much, but to thank you for your continual support, and we continue to solicit for more support. On that note, Your Excellency.
The United States Consulate in Lagos has hosted a reception to mark the 249th anniversary of American independence. The event brought together a cross-section of Nigeria's political, diplomatic, and cultural community, with emphasis on strengthening the long-standing partnership between both nations. News Central's Suese Anyo here has the details.
It was an evening of diplomacy and celebration at the residence of the U.S. Consul General in Ikoyi, Lagos. The acting U.S. Consul General, Jolin Gowak, hosted the reception in honor of America's 249th Independence Day, using the occasion to highlight the enduring relationship between the United States and Nigeria.
It's a pleasure to see the amazing group of people who are here to celebrate with us. 76 every 4th of July across the United States, millions of Americans reflect on the values that have defined us: freedom, excellence, and opportunity. These ideals fuel not only our national spirit, but they underpin our international relations.
The event drew together a diverse group of attendees, including government officials, diplomats, Nollywood actors, influencers, business leaders, and members of civil society.
Even as we look forward to this major milestone, and as we celebrate this year's anniversary, we have the opportunity today to reflect on the journey of nationhood, both for the United States and Nigeria, and a chance to reflect on our shared ideas of democracy, on our freedom, on our striving for enduring peace and prosperity for our people, and even in the face of many odds.
There's so much synergy between both nations, and that's what we're here to celebrate. Our cultures, our diversity, as it were, and the things that we have in common.
Guests described the reception as a demonstration of goodwill between the two nations, noting the relevance of collaboration in areas such as commerce, democratic development, and innovation.
Today exemplifies what the relationship between Nigeria and the U.S. represents. That of friendship, that of partnership, that of prosperity, and that of increased commercial ties.
We must develop a strong quest for trade justice with the Western nations of the world. We produce so much that we export, but we want to keep the export process and the value chain mostly in Africa, mostly in Nigeria. With what President Tinubu has built and is building, the coastal road, it allows for a huge expansion of the export process and export development.
The Lagos celebration served as a reminder of the importance of international partnerships in tackling global challenges and fostering a more connected future. In Lagos, for News Central, COEC Anyo.
Our latest figures released by the Debt Management Office show Kogi State now ranks 5th lowest in domestic debt among the 36 states of the federal and the Federal Capital Territory. The report shows that Kogi State's domestic debt stands at 20.38 billion naira, marking a significant drop from the 121.81 billion naira recorded in fourth quarter of 2023, when the state ranked 18th lowest in the country. This reflects a remarkable debt reduction of over 101.43 billion naira in just over one fiscal quarter. Speaking on the achievement, the State Commissioner for Finance, Budget and Economic Planning, Asiru Idris, attributed the success to the state's aggressive implementation of global best practices in financial management, including prudent borrowing, enhanced revenue performance, and strategic expenditure control. In a related development, the Kogi State government says it has acquired licenses to fully participate in solid mineral mining in the state, in a bold move to diversify the state's economy and expand its revenue base. The state government confirmed that it has acquired 15 mining licenses to begin strategic participation in the nation's solid mineral sector. Let's take a short break now. We've got more news coming your way. Welcome back. Now, Lagos is once again facing major traffic disruptions, this time at Iyanowuru, where ongoing construction, reconstruction work on the bridge has triggered heavy gridlock across key routes connecting the mainland to the island. Now, commuters have been forced into long detours and delayed travel, raising concerns about the city's traffic management capacity during essential infrastructure upgrades. Joining us now from the site of the bridge repairs is News Central's Ameze Bazwaye, tracking the situation and speaking with affected road users. Ameze, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining. Please, can you tell us what the current situation there is and how are people coping with the disruption?
Thank you very much, Mazino. Right here at the bridge, of course, Ifako Bridge, we're seeing a lot of persons commuting on their feet. If you can look behind me, some persons are coming behind and some are that way already. Right here, we can see that they've condoned off the road, basically because construction is going on here. A lot of persons coming through from the third mainland bridge area are actually really the new ones facing this right now. A lot of them are having to spend hours on the road. Some persons who are in public vehicles come down and of course use their feet to cross over the bridge to the next arena so that they can take another bus. Some persons are also trying to find alternative routes. Look this way. You can see that some persons are beneath us here. A lot of them are still stuck in traffic despite the fact that they went ahead to take an alternative route. A lot of persons are actually still in the traffic gridlock here. Basically, we see that a lot of persons are frustrated. A lot of persons are having to use their feet to commute because they do not want to stay in the hold-up for a long period of time. I'm going to be talking a little bit to someone right now who can give us more insight onto how this whole place is right now. Good evening. Can you just tell us a little bit about how it has been so far? How many hours do people have to stay on the road?
We are spent like 4 or 5 hours here. Since 2 o'clock, we be here. That's why.
So why was the problem?
No, I don't know actually the major problem. But the other thing I know is that I think say maybe this place that cause all this thing will happen. Because the road no far for here. Yes, that's one.
All right, so you heard him. A lot of persons are going through real troubles, real trials, if I may say that. A lot of them are having to, like I said earlier on, commute on their feet because definitely they cannot go through with vehicles, especially the public vehicles. Some persons have to come down, alight from the bus, and when they get to this other end of the road, use another bus to, of course, go to their destinations.
Well, Mez, I want to say thank you very much for bringing us the update on the situation there. Please continue to follow through, and we'll get details as subsequent bulletins come through. Thank you very much, Amezi. Now, in East Africa, United Nations World Food Programme has warned that millions of people displaced by the war in Sudan are at risk of plunging even deeper into crisis as international food and aid begins to run dry. Since fighting erupted in April 2023 between Sudan's military and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, the conflict has triggered the world's largest displacement crisis. More than 10 million people have been forced from their homes within Sudan, while an additional 4 million have fled across borders, many seeking refuge in Chad, Egypt, and South Sudan.
People in front of our eyes, and I don't know, it's a good bad thing for us. I don't know about the others, but me myself, I will never come back there.
In Sudan is a regional humanitarian crisis. Over 4 million people have fled across borders to at least 7 countries in the region. WFP operations in all those countries are critically underfunded. Without further contributions, assistance for Sudanese refugees will completely cease in the coming months. Sudanese refugees deserve protection and assistance, not further hunger and despair. WFP will continue to serve them, but we need the funding.
The family of a street vendor, Boniface Nwaji Kariki, has confirmed his death after he was shot by police during protest. His killing has reignited anger over police violence as Kenya faces fresh unrest. Kariki was shot in the head while appearing to be a bystander during demonstrations over the death of blogger Albert Ojwang in police custody. Now, news that he was brain dead had sparked further public anger over alleged police brutality, with increasing demands for justice. Many Kenyans have also urged the government to settle the hospital bill of Kariki's family and also appealed for public donations. 2 police officers. Now, Merima Wako Ojiwa is a Kenyan political analyst, executive director of Siasa Place, who joins us from Nairobi in Kenya. You're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. How would you describe the current public sentiment in Kenya currently following the police shooting of the vendor?
At the moment, the public still feels devastated. Remember, he was on life support for 2 weeks. We all witnessed it being covered live because there was a lot of media that was present when the shooting occurred. A lot of people have been praying for him to survive. And over days, we've just been hearing the news get worse and worse as they announce his critical condition for him to pass now more recently. So it's very, very somber. A lot of people are very angry. And the officer who was caught on video for shooting him is back to his social media. He's actually been posting on TikTok and basically asking for the Kenyan people to forgive him for making that mistake. Yet Kenyans want answers. They want to see people being held accountable for innocent people being shot by the police and being killed. So I would not say we're not in a good mood, not at all.
Not at all, it wouldn't be. Now, do you think that this event has potential to escalate tensions between civilians and law enforcement in Kenya?
Absolutely. I believe that the Cabinet Secretary for Health wrote a statement where he talked about waiving the bill, the hospital bill that had garnered because of karaoke being under critical condition. And there was a post that was put up by Hanifa, who's also a journalist and an activist, where she said that actually all of the bills have been waived by, the hospital in terms of people who have been shot by the police during the protests. And karaoke was the only one that was shot on that week of 18th of June. And basically saying that's not going to solve our problems. That's not going to solve the issue. So I do think that they are trying to show that they are doing much more. But what we're seeing is that they're not doing enough. It's still very little and it's still happening very slowly. There needs to be people who are resigning. There need to be people who are fired. Remember that these are cases that are currently ongoing. You mentioned Ojwang earlier, who was murdered in police cells, and that case is still ongoing. We had, the DIG basically step aside rather than resign fully. And these are the concerns that a lot of citizens are having at the moment.
Nerima, I was going to ask you about public trust in the police, in the Kenyan police, but you also mentioned a couple of instances, and Juan, like I mentioned from before, and over the past many years, there have been many instances where police are involved. Can you give us an idea exactly of what the public-police relationship is like in Kenya?
The relationship with the police has been tense, especially when you're talking about young people. Remember, most of our countries, most of the population is below the age of 20 years old. So there's a sense of harassment where even when you go and get your ID, we've had complaints from young people, because I work for a youth organization, where they're afraid to go pick up their identity cards because some of them are based in chiefs camps or some of them are based in police camps. So the tension is real because of even something like loitering in CBD in Nairobi used to be something that you could be arrested for. So you could imagine now seeing after the protests last year, we lost more than 60 young people in those protests, and those are the ones we know of. There's still a number of people who went missing, over 20 of them. There's still abductions. Even today, we've learned of 4 young people who've been picked up. And so all of our social media we're afraid of the police. And we've not even talked about the kind of corruption that we see even with the traffic police themselves. It's something that is very, very common. And a lot of young people do feel harassed. So as this continues, because the protests are not going to stop, a lot of young people, they become even angrier when they see that there's no action that's being taken. They become even angrier when they see some of the statements that were made by the Cabinet Secretary to Interior, where he basically said that they will support the police fully and truly, and then calling protesters terrorists and saying that these people were attempting a coup. So they're using the wrong language. They're using the wrong methods in terms of interacting with an already tense and angered young population. I could only see it get worse if they continue with the same tactics.
All right, Narima, thank you very much. And indeed, we do hope that there is justice for Kariuki. Thank you very much, Narima. And that's all for this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the stories. President Tinubu has been conferred with highest national honor in Saint Lucia on his diplomatic trip to the Caribbean island nation. And University Senior Staff Union has threatened fresh industrial action over withheld salaries. We are also told that United Nations World Food Programme has warned of looming hunger crisis for millions of Sudanese refugees as funds dry up. Now, do remember, you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number being displayed on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.